Okay. Yeah. So maybe like we can upload it in our YouTube channel at a point in time. So good morning, everyone. Right, we are here to right gather some insight from each other. So and we are seeing that the agile roles are also kind of transforming. We are typically like everyone is kind of getting involved into agile practice. Now, no one can deny that at this point, right? Everyone like it's by default, right? Agile way of working. So the different roles, right? Whether it is an agile or whether it is a scaled agile, like I know Vinod very closely. Like in my current organization, Vinod have been working for quite some time, and after that he moved on. But we are in close touch, right? He shares a lot of things with me, and I do share a lot of things. So, but the point is, like things are transforming, right? We cannot just keep the same way of working going on, right? And maybe moving forward, and that's the reason I was thinking that to come up with, hey Asim, thanks so much for joining. So I was just thinking why to not to make it a very big kind of community, but at least with the close group, can we have a kind of community where everyone can share? It's not that always I will be speaking, right? You can also tell that, okay, maybe I would request Vani once to come up with, no, not much, right? Maybe 15, 20 minutes of presentation. That what is your take, like how the QA roles are kind of transforming in this world? So that because not everything we can play, right? I can play some part of the role, right? And Vinod can play some part of the role. Asim can play some part of the role. You can play. So, and we will be learning from each other that, right, how things are kind of changing, right, in the new way of right working. So that's a fantastic expectation that we are trying to set up. So fine. So let's get started. So we have just formed this community, and today is in fact, the first webinar that we are launching. In fact, we are planning to launch it right every week. Not much because we know that like we all are occupied with some or other things, but what we are planning is at least 15 to 20 minutes of sessions followed by some Q&A, right? So that we can learn from each other. And if it goes fine, and we will give opportunity to everyone. Maybe I would request Vinod to sometime, right, come up with some presentation, etc. Keep writing blogs. In fact, in the Agile AI Synergy, it's not only me or Asim who can write the blog. You can also write and post the blog there. Like that's the reason, that's the way we can all grow, right? So that's perfectly fine. Asim, thanks for joining in. So let's go to the presentation.
Sorry
Hope,
for
hope.
got delayed. My system
No
was
worries, no worries, no worries. Hope am I audible clearly, Vani?
yes.
Vinod, am I audible? Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Vinod. Okay, so let's get started. So today's topic is little very interesting because we have been talking about. Let me know just once one of you can confirm that whether you're able to right see my screen. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So
Yes.
the point here is like our topic is how agile leadership, right, in the age of emotional intelligence and AI. Correct. So little bit of little interesting topic because we have been knowing agile leadership is something different than the conventional way of leadership. So before I go further into the slides, I would like to just give you, I'm sure all of you know about it, and maybe after 15, 20 minutes, we would be right looking for your suggestion, right? Your experience, how you are seeing the leadership roles are kind of getting evolved. So if I go back 10, 15 years back when Agile was kind of adopting, and we were teaching agile. If I remember my IBM days where we were talking about first line manager and we were teaching them, right, what would be your role, right, in the new way of working. So that time I still remember the first slide where we were defining, right, the different type of leadership like style, like autocratic leadership, paternalistic leadership, right, etc., etc., and many others, laissez-faire, right, and all those delegative leadership. And after that, like we are coming up with something very interesting called uh, servant leadership. Now, whenever we are talking about servant leadership, it is basically to take a back seat, put the team forward, and try to provide that psychological safe environment to them. Now, now, what is changing in the AI landscape? First of all, if I try to define in a very simple word what AI is, AI mimics the human intelligence, and it is trying to make a lot of things easier, right, by right using some right the different dimensions. Could be deep learning, could be machine learning, could be computer vision, could be robotics, right, and could be the NLP, and we will have some follow up discussions around those areas as well because it's a free forum, right? So we can learn from each other. So how in this area there are a lot of things, right? There are two type of work that the leaderships do. One is the motivational stuff, right, or the inspirational stuff, right, which is requiring their emotional intelligence, right, their emotional connect with the people, and other things which they are doing it on a transactional level. Could be, you can say, appraisal, right, could be a lot of administrative work, could be a lot of operational work, etc. Now, I am not trying to make it very specific to the managers, because managers is just a subset of the leader. Leader is a much broader term. An architect can also become a leader. Right, Vani, we have one Vani who has fantastic experience as a kind of QA lead. I know her, right, since right last 10, 15, I mean 15, 20 years. Right, she has been excellent, right, person in my team member. I have worked with her, right? So I know the kind of leadership she demonstrates, right? So everyone is leader, like in their own capacity, right? But think how things are changing, right? That is something what we are trying to discuss today. So these are the right five area that we have thought about, right? Leading with the heart and the data. So there is no conflict as such. So we all know that the leaders are coming up with a lot of right emotional thing, etc. Sometimes the leaders become a kind of functional manager. I'm not talking about operational manager, but functional manager who can sit with the member. Member can ask to them in a safe environment with lot of trust and respect that what can be my my future plan. Now, if I remember correctly, I had a couple of discussions with Vinod. And fortunately, that point in time, right, I was not his functional manager. So I could pour my heart out for him. That Vinod, try this out, try that out. Because I don't have any, I would say, transactional relationship with Vinod that, okay, I have to give you the appraisal, I have to find fault in your work. That was never the intention. And that's how a leader is different, little bit from a normal transactional manager, with all due respect. They are not doing it in a any personal intention. That is their job they are doing. Next is the psychological safety. We'll go more, right? That is one of the key criteria of a leader to right play in this world. So to make you safe, so that you can trust, that you can open up thing, you can come up with honesty. Even if you make some mistakes, you don't hesitate to share that mistakes and try to learn from there. That's how, as a right team member, you can give a team member that assurance that, okay, I'm ready to back you up. Correct? But if you reprimand, if you punish, if you become judgmental on that situation, right? In that case, the resource, or I would not say resource is not a good word. The employee or the associate will take a get into their groups. I can just take maybe 1 minute of time and I can share one thing. In my IBM days when I was a project manager at that point in time, there was one scenario that the team member deleted all the production level data. Think about it, how critical it could be. But I know that this can be worked out for sure. Because we have right some backup servers as well, but she was given that access and she had to get that access, root access, to remove, I mean, modify data, but by mistake she ran a right wrong command and it was kind of deleted. Now everyone, trust me, everyone, I was under scanner because I was the project manager, and everyone was asking me tell the name. I said no, I cannot tell the name. Sorry. I said no, your job can go. I said that's perfectly fine with me. Because if I tell the name, the point is not to tell the name. Point is how can I recover my right data from the backup, and how can I make sure my business is not going to be impacted. Now, if I tell the name of that person, the team member, first of all, my entire team's morale will go down. My entire team will not trust, will not open up in front of me. I still respect that person who came forward and said that, Shubhoda, I lost my, right, I have deleted all the things. So that openness, that transparency will go away if I, right, reveal the name. But I can assure that my entire team will work overnight to make sure by the time tomorrow the things will be running, right? Everything will be right remaining same. I don't know whether you remember, Vanishri, there was something called MLCR, Maintenance Level Comparison Report, right? It is for that.
Yeah.
So that was the challenge. And after 1 month of time, when everything got streamlined, I got a appreciation note from my leadership team that yes, this is the right level of leadership that we want from everyone, because we sometimes also get carried away by the immediate reaction. Everyone wants to save their right position and then reveal the name and said, okay, if I can make these guys a scapegoat, then I'm gone, then I'm safe. But that is not the good example of the psychological safety. Psychological safety is to create that environment where people can work safely, even if, right? Okay, now that does that mean that the person can continue to make the same mistakes? Of course not. Psychological safety talks about how can you convert your right mistakes into your learning moment. That's more important. So I had to sit with that person couple of times and told her that okay, what had gone wrong, right? You tell me now that you are safe. No one knows your name. So now you tell me that okay, what went wrong? What can we make sure that you suggest that what can we do from the next time that these mistakes will not happen? And trust me, after that, for the next 6 years, we never had any challenges, right? So this is the way, right? You can create that kind of environment. Now, emotional intelligence in the digital context. Now, digital context can make a lot of things easier for us. Now, these days, like the lot of surgeries are happening like that, right? The robotics, etc. Now, sometimes I am seeing, I'm sure you have also observed in credit card, call center, everything, right? They are creating this kind of robo, and they have been given some very specific command to interact with. Now, you may be having a different problem which you are suffering, and it needs a human empathy. But that robo, that call, that the chat agent or whatever is not having that. It clearly says, I don't understand your question. Can you please answer me right in this format? So you cannot really explain what is your problem, and your problem can be unique. It was for a credit card fine where I did not make any right transaction for the last 6 months, but before the for the renewal fee of 200, I did not notice it. And because of that recurring fine, right, non-payment fine of that 200, it shoot up to kind of 2000. Now, how can I explain that case study right to a chatbot? Think about it. So how can we bridge this? We are never saying that AI is bad. That's the need of the hour. But how can we bridge that gap, right, between, or how can we bridge the emotional intelligence and the digital part of it, right, together? That is something what we are going to learn. Servant leadership we have already spoken about, and how empathy can become a performance multiplier. Now I know Asim has been my colleague in the right current organization, and he has come up with a very interesting prompt engineering case study for us. That okay, during the appraisal, we are given a lot of right Excel sheets, so where we can define our weightage, etc., etc., and then we can come up with some right great. I mean, the lot of efforts can be reduced. But the question is, apart from the data point, there can be a lot of other things which are there, which no one can right define properly. No data can define. As a person, the kind of stretch he is doing, those things are never right logged in as a kind of data. So here comes the empathy, right? Empathy can help us to right get there. So without further, let's go into the right slides. So this is the new mandate, leading with heart and the data. So the summary is like there are a lot of information, but I'll try to make it summarize. The intention is no one can deny, right, the importance of the right analytics. No one can deny the importance of the data. No one can right, deny the importance of the artificial intelligence. But the important part which I have highlighted, the timeless human qualities like emotional intelligence, empathy, and trust cannot be still built right with this kind of artificial intelligence. So leadership is now at the intersection of the intellect and emotion, where agility is not about just speed but about creating spaces where people can thrive. So earlier we were thinking about agility is all about speed, it's all about innovation, etc., etc. But now there is also a kind of human-centric mindset which right can build that bond right between you and your team member, so that your team member will die for you. Your team member will trust you; they can do anything. But if that softness, if that kindness, if that relationship, if those qualities are going on, we all become a robot, and no one wants to get there. Now, when we talk about agile principles, we know that like agile 4 manifesto, everyone knows it. I don't want to reiterate that. So individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Now, again, still I would say even after 24 years since the agile manifesto is published, it may be that point in time too, but still people are kind of misunderstanding that statement, thinking that it is only individuals and interaction and no processes and tools. Now, can we really do agile without any processes and tools? Not possible. So people are misunderstanding that. They are thinking that over word as instead of or not. But that's not the case. Agile never said that. Agile said both are required with a little bit more preference to the individuals and interaction than the processes and tools. But now these processes and tools are kind of getting changed or getting, I would say, replaced by this artificial intelligence. Now, I'm sure, like I was reading one article where Agile Manifesto was kind of redefined, rephrased from an AI landscape. Purposefully, I did not put it today. But we cannot ignore that. But at the same time, we need to ensure that the individuals and interaction, that part should not be kind of missed out. Now, moving on, this is what we have already talked about, that empathy as a performance multiplier. So of course, like retaining talent, right, more effectively, like you can get a lot of data, you can do a lot of screening, etc., etc. But apart from that resume screening, I'm just giving some examples. Now, whenever the profiles come to us, we do a screening with some keywords. Now, does that really give that ability of that person? Now, we know that we want to take a shortcut, but still nothing can replace, right, that discussion, that interaction with that member. Even if nothing is later, even if let's say the person has not put by mistake, he has missed to put that coaching part. But even if he is writing the coaching part, does that mean he knows coaching? Unless you ask that question, unless you validate that what coaching means to you. And that is one of the reason, like when I used to take the interview or I take the interview, trust me, I hardly ask any question which is straightforward. I always try to give them a situation which a machine cannot help. Unless and until you have been right with that situation, you have been passing through this situation, you cannot answer that. I never ask any theoretical question. I always give them some data point and tell them, okay, now what could be the situation where this kind of problem can arise? Navigate conflict with compassion. Again, conflict does not mean like you should pass, right? You should consider one person as bad, one person as good, but try to understand from which background this conflict is arising. Maybe he is constrained. So this can only be understood whenever you are treating that with a compassion. Now lead change with credibility, right, and calmness, right? Not to just go by the data and judge. And there had been lot of case studies, right, where these data driven or these number driven things, right, talking about lot of biasness, right? So which we cannot do. Now, okay, now what can we do? Now let's say a doctor, let's say X-ray report analysis. Now in diagnostic center, maybe getting 50,000 report, X-ray report every day. Now out of that, maybe 98.8% of the data is more or less same, clean. Now those reports can be written right by the machine and the doctors can put their digital signature. But for 1.5, you cannot trust on that, right? That generated report. Here the doctor should intervene and tell that. So what is the benefit? Now it's a win-win. So what is happening here? What is the benefit of the doctor? The doctor can save a lot of his time or her time for those trivial report. Like many of us are going, right, just for a kind of normal checkup. But nothing has happened. We are just going for the checkup, maybe a annual checkup where X-ray is a mandatory thing. So those things are trivial, which does not need a specialist intervention. But whenever some trigger point is coming up, doctor must intervene and then write his. So here the experience matters. Moving on, balancing agility with the just a moment. Yeah. Sorry about that. Let me go back. Just 1 minute. It's actually what happened. Yeah, I'm putting it here. Right. So balancing agility with humanity and the technology. So technology is important, but there should be a kind of shade of human intelligence, human intervention as well. Now it can be, we all know that like we are driven by the outcome, but also we should be emotionally aware that what has been his past experience. Maybe that person might not have done good in the last 3 months or 6 months of time. Now, it might be a situation that he might be constrained, which he did not want to disclose. But does that mean that all his 4 or 5 years of experience is going for a toss where he has been doing quite well and people know him in person, the kind of impact, the kind of influence he has made on the organization? Will not that be considered? Of course, it should be. So we must need to be adapting, but at the same time, like we should be anchored in values. And what are those agile values? We all know that. Now, moving on. Leading diverse, remote, and distributed team. Now, gone are those days where people were thinking about agility is all about small cross-functional co-located team. Now, distributed agile or distributed agile is now right the reality. You cannot avoid that. Can we expect, right, a team will be kind of co-located? Now, whenever we rather talk about distributed agility, it increases, right, our efficiency of the team because you can get a lot of cross culture, right, team cross skill team members, which you cannot expect in the same location. But it does come up with a lot of challenges as well because whenever you are trying to take the right team member from different location, from different geography, their cultures are different. The way you speak to a kind of Indian team member, you may not be working, you may not be connecting in the same way, right, with a person sitting in US or person sitting in Europe, etc. Not only their accent but their culture, the way they right do it, this is something learning and which only can be done by practice. So that is very important. Sometimes it is very important for a leader to remain vulnerable. You cannot pretend to know that okay, you know everything. Sometimes it is very important, right, to stay vulnerable and open for the knowledge from the team member. Now I have seen that, I'm sure all of you have experienced that there are many leaders, whenever they don't know something, they say, okay, I'll get back to you. And after that, they don't never get back. The take that get back to you as a escaping tendency, that does not increase their right value. But whenever that really, I can share a lot of stories around the same line, but the time is short. Right? So, but I have seen some great leaders who not only saying that, okay, I'll get back to you, but they make sure they get back with the answer. Now think about it. Whenever you are seeing that your leader has come back to you, say that okay, you asked a question, I could not answer it that way, but I had a discussion with the respective people, and here is your answer. How would you feel? Your entire perception about the leader would change. So use AI to enhance the connection. Tool powered AI can help to detect the burnout sentiment. A lot of analytical stuff AI can help. But don't ignore the emotional touch or the human touch around that. Servant leadership with AI. Now, AI does not replace the judgment, right? It informs. So AI can, right, give you, and we all know, right? And the first thing as a leader, right, one thing that we need to follow, that we should not be judgmental, correct? Now, whenever AI is seeing that, okay, the data is not meeting my criteria, it's clearly saying compliant or non-compliant, but there may be some exception, there may be some gray area which is kind of missed out. Now, that is something, right, what we are trying to address, right, with the AI. Use AI insights to ask better question, not to dictate the direction. Now, we all know about the coaching, powerful questions, etc., etc. But the quickly you are changing your question depending on the situation, AI may not do it. AI may be following the same way. Same questions will be kind of repeated. Same templates will be followed. I don't know how many of you have seen or exposed to those list of powerful questions. Can I really ask the same question always whenever I have a coaching conversation? Let's say when I'm having a coaching conversation with Vani, I considering her situation, I will maybe asking the same exploratory questions, but I'll change it so that it is relevant to her question, and that is where it comes the listening ability as well. AI won't understand that, or maybe it needs a lot of maturity to do that. We are not yet there. It will simply say, no, I don't understand. Please answer to my question. So here comes the change. A servant leader, right, helps the team grow through autonomy mastery, that we know, right? Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Even when, right, navigating the complex tech shifts. Coming to the almost almost to the end of the discussion, these are the five key pillars. Let me just complete it in the next 5 minutes and then go for a quick question answer. So self-awareness, recognizing your emotion, especially during the stress, which AI cannot help. AI will consider you as a robot. It will keep on asking the same point. So don't try to be a robot. Try to get into the person's shoe. Try to understand the situation. Your value will be increasing. I have seen many situations where the Scrum Masters are making mistakes. So what should I do? I should go ahead and escalate that immediately. The first statement that I make when I go and take a coaching, that I am not an escalation person. I know that you are going to make mistake, but I'll trust you. I know that you are not going to do it intentionally. But so don't expect any escalation. Escalation is not bad, but whenever you have exhausted all your resources, to understand person, to help that person, etc., still nothing is working, then you take that route, but in a respectful manner, constructive manner. Self-regulation, managing impulses and modeling the calm behavior. So if you shout, the person will be agitated. There can be many discussions, with a moderate tone or a calm tone. Because ultimately, one thing stays, that is the respect. If you respect others, you will get the respect back. And it is something like which you cannot buy, you can only earn. Motivation, inspiring team through purpose, not the pressure. So you need to explain them why it is needed, not you have to do it. They're two different things. So once you understand, there is a famous book or the, I would say, video. I'm sure you must have heard about it. If you have not, then I'll share that link with all of you, called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. He clearly says that everyone knows about what, everyone knows about how, but most of the people don't know why am I doing it. And once I know that why am I doing it, once I know what is my purpose of doing it, everything becomes simple. But the problem is people are driven by the what and the how, but not by the why, not by the purpose. So that is very important. That is what he calls it as a golden circle. The last one, empathy, we already talked about. And the last one is the social skill, building rapport, resolving conflict. Try to build that trust, try to build that rapport so that people will open up. People will become vulnerable to you. Otherwise, people will start hiding in front of you and it becomes a very transactional thing. Now, psychological safety, we already spoke about. Speak up without a fear, that we discussed in the very first moment. Admit mistakes and learn from them. That's very important. So you should create, as a leader, you should be able to create such an environment that people should not be hesitant, in creating creating an environment where people can open up, but at the same time, they will not try to repeat the mistakes, but try to learn from the mistakes and take it forward. Finally, as a leader, what should we do? The normalize uncertainty. Celebrating learning over perfection. That's the most important thing. No one can be perfect. There will be mistake. But the immense learning that you are going to get in that process is kind of irreplaceable. Invite diverse perspective. Don't be biased. Don't think that this person has never been, he has always been calm, silent, so he cannot add any value. No, give opportunity. Give that cushion. Your cushion can change a silent person's life as well. Maybe have a one-on-one conversation and see what is stopping him or her in contributing, because you know that the person may not be speaking, may not be talking, may not be contributing, but he is really capable. Last, create rituals for connection in the remote setting, like check-in, shout-outs, informal chat. Have some informal chat, maybe weekly once or maybe fortnightly once, so where there is no business talk. Let's try to know each other, understand their family, their challenges, etc. Then really you become a kind of good leader. I really want to just end it with a last sentence, one statement. In IBM, I don't want to reveal that name. When I took over from one of the manager, so he brought me in his room and he said that Shubho, I can just give you one tips. I only asked that, can you give me some tips how to become a manager? I never played that. I was doing a project leadership role and it was kind of, I was connecting with them. But can you give me some tips of becoming a good people manager? And he told that like I maintain an Excel sheet. And in the Excel sheet, I always keep noting down a person's flaws, the shortcomings, the escalations, so that I can play my cards during the appraisal. I said, what stupid is this? What stupidity is this? How can I become so vindictive? I'm not talking to right anyone. I mean, whenever I am become a leader, why should I be thinking in mind that how can I give him or her a bad rating? Is this the right way of showing them on demonstrating leadership? Never. Finding fault cannot be, or just looking for the fault cannot be a reason for becoming a good leader. I'm sure all of you, those who have been playing the functional manager, right, during that appraisal, bell curve fitting, everyone is asking for that. Can you give me some escalation? Can I really frame a escalation for that person just to make sure that okay, if you want to give him a bad rating, you give it, but I cannot give you any false evidence for that. Everyone makes mistake. But then why should I be ignoring his positives or her positives? That may be more. He or she might have got two mistakes, two escalation, but he might have got like 10 applaud notes. Why should I be ignoring that? Can those be just right created like that? He did not do anything good like just because like he has someone has received given him like that. It's not possible. Definitely, he might have done something good for which he has received that applaud. Can it be really given unless you earn it? So don't do that. So, and these emotional things cannot be replaced by. So, question is ultimate point that we are trying to end up with, and after that we can go for a quick 5 minutes of Q&A or sharing your views. AI is definitely needed, but your original intent, your original quality are not going to be replaced. Thank you so much. Anyone would like to share your uh, experience? Maybe Vani, I can quickly go to Vani and then probably I'll go to Vinod. Like, what has been your experience in the, like, since you have started seeing a kind of AI world?
Yeah. So I just hear that, a lot of tech jobs recently, we all might have seen, a lot of layoffs and everything is, replaced with the AI and all. So I just wanted to understand, like, how, especially the functional team, whether we are, managers or something, how it would impact, right, going forward, or will this reach to some saturation? Because I think every area we are implementing AI. So, but we cannot be like experts overnight. We have to still,
Correct.
learn and implement and then see what are the outcomes. And always there is, like you said, our thoughts, our views, our reviews are always required as
Correct.
human intervention is required. So how can this impact, the current IT world? I mean, already there are so many layoffs. What are like job security levels, coming
Correct.
this
Correct.
coming?
I can just share only one point. If you remember, Vani, like at least 5, 6 years or 8 years back, when there were a lot of focus on the kind of automation, right? You know that like
Hmm.
RPA, many things came up. That time also there was a huge right uh, fear factor, right, came in everyone's mind. This automation is going to take away all our job. Did it happen? No. In
Yeah.
fact, to write those scripts also now, and you all sustained because you started
Yes.
learning right how to
The
write. Now instead of doing that manual these things, right, how can I write, how can I start doing the automation? No,
hmm.
I don't think like, and these gave us that opportunity to learn something different, right, in a different way of. So it is a, I would say, an advanced way. Definitely there will be challenges for sure. You cannot, or the way we have been working, we cannot right do the same way. Like if you ask me like as an agile coach or an agile consultant, can I do the same thing the way we have been doing it? Of course not. I also need to embrace. I also need to embrace the prompt engineering. Why should I be spending so much of time in doing that if I can get the data exported from the right Jira and can put it in a, I can write the prompt, proper prompt, I can get the response. But again, as you rightly said, is it going to take away my job? As long as I can well mix the technology with my intellect, it's not going to be. Yes,
Mm.
what all things are going to go away? The trivial things, correct? So trivial things will definitely go away. But you need to make sure that you are getting into that position. And another point here is, Vani, which I would like to say, everyone says what, like you have to do, but no one says how, correct? How
Mm.
you can make yourself relevant, what all skills you need to learn to get this. There are a lot of trainings here and there going on. And me and Asim have been doing this kind of mentoring sessions right in our own organization. So maybe like in future sessions, we can give you some tips that
Yeah.
as a tester, right? How can you write a better prompt? How can you write good things? What are the pointer that you need to focus on? Because I know, like I had a discussion with Vinod that he attended one of the Scrum Master session. In fact, I immediately checked with him, say, hey Vinod, like what has been your experience? He said, sure, nothing big deal. It's not there. They did not talk about. Maybe I'll request Vinod to share his view. Vinod, would you like to just quickly share your view on that, right? AI for Scrum Master. Remember, I called you at some
Yeah,
point in time.
yeah,
Yeah, please.
yes. I am about to tell you that. Okay. Only thing, only thing is that adoption is the main thing here. I would say okay. How we adopt ourselves to the new environments and how we are doing the things. Okay. So there is no hard and fast rule that the AIs or any automation will take the people's job. Okay.
Hmm,
Only thing is, even though AI will give you the inputs or the prompts or the things, you are the person who will give the prompt to the machine.
correct.
I would say machine. Sorry to say that, but I would say machine because it is machine nothing but the any other tools or something like that. You are the person who will make it learn before you use it. Okay? You feed the data. You go give all the data. You back up all the data. For
Right,
example, you input the data, store it, then it will you write the algorithm to analyze and give you back what is the required.
right.
Sorry,
So
I mean
Vinod,
I may
Vinod, if you allow
diverted.
me, I'm just sorry to stop you because this is the free version of Zoom. It will be closing in 10
Yeah,
seconds. So
yeah, that's fine.
we will continue with this discussion,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
thanks for joining, right? It will be just closing, but I would in the next session I would like to hear